Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. After years of shocking twists, brutal deaths, and unforgettable moments, The Boys has finally reached its explosive conclusion. Season 5 brings the story of Butcher, Homelander, Huey, Starlight, and the rest of the gang to an end, with a finale that appears to tie everything together. Homelander is dead, Butcher meets his fate, and for the first time in a long while, the future seems to hold some hope. But once you start looking a little closer, the final season isn't nearly as clean as it first appears. Despite all the effort to wrap up years of storylines, Season 5 leaves behind a surprising number of unanswered questions, contradictions, and plot holes that are difficult to ignore. Some of these issues directly conflict with information established in earlier seasons, while others simply don't make much logical sense when you think about them for more than a few seconds. In this video, we're breaking down everything wrong with The Boys Season 5, from confusing character decisions and abandoned storylines to some of the biggest plot holes in the entire series. If you thought the finale was perfect, you may want to stick around, because some of these problems could completely change the way you look at the ending. Let's get into it. All of the power scaling. Power scaling is the bane of any superhero fan's existence. For the uninitiated, power scaling is all about an audience having something of a complete idea of what a character's powers are and what kind of strength they hold. If we see a character do something outstanding in one scene, but they're suddenly incapable of doing the same feat in the next with no logical explanation, then that's a pretty massive oversight. Homelander is a massive victim to power scaling because his abilities differ wildly from one scene to the next. In the series finale, blood and bone, Homelander whisks Günther Van Ellis, Ivan Sherry, to space in what seems like a nanosecond. But when Homelander is fighting Butcher later, he tries to fly away, but Butcher's able to apprehend him with his tendrils. Those tendrils shouldn't have stood a chance, because we've already seen how quickly Homelander can lift off. Then there's the issue with Homelander's laser eyes. In an earlier episode, Homelander slices Kimiko, Karen Fukuhara, in half with them, although she regenerates. But during the Oval Office fight, Homelander uses his laser eyes on Kimiko, and they merely knock her back instead of cutting her in half. And this is Homelander with the V1 formula in his system now, so he should be even stronger. Homelander is all-powerful when the show wants to present him as terrifying. But when he's fighting main characters, he's suddenly far wimpier so that he can receive the fate he deserves. When was Soldier Boy in love with Stormfront? Homelander getting the V1 formula hinges on Soldier Boy, Jensen Ackles, handing it over to him. Soldier Boy's reasoning for this move, despite seemingly hating Homelander, earlier is that Stormfront, Aya, Cash, loved Homelander and wanted him to be the best suit possible. Soldier Boy insists Stormfront was his one true love, so he's not handing over the V1 for Homelander, but for Stormfront. It's a turn that would make sense if Soldier Boy didn't spend a good chunk of Season 3 talking about how much he loved Crimson Countess Laurie Holden. From that season, it seemed like Crimson Countess was his one true love. But suddenly, he and Stormfront were an item. He mentions how he and Liberty, Stormfront's name in the 1950s, were founding members of Herogasm, but it never feels like they were anything too serious. But now, the entire plot of The Boys, Season 5 hinges on Soldier Boy being madly in love with Stormfront all these years. The best explanation you could give it is that he loved Stormfront in the 50s. And then he and Crimson Countess were an item in the 1980s when they were members of the soup group Payback. But it feels like the writers retconned Soldier Boy's relationship with Stormfront to justify his actions. The Boys, Season 5 effectively functions as a backdoor pilot to Vought Rising, so we'll hopefully see what Soldier Boy and Stormfront's relationship was like in the prequel series. Where did all the Temp Fi go? Another storyline that seemingly gets forgotten involves V24. Earlier in the series, Butcher and Huey take V24, also known as Temp V, to give them superpowers for 24 hours. This comes in handy to level the playing field when attacking soups, and all it takes to overpower Homelander in the episode Herogasm is Soldier Boy and Butcher. Granted, Temp V comes with a nasty side effect of killing the user after 3 to 5 doses, so it's not something people should get accustomed to, but during that final fight with Homelander, it really would come in handy. Even if Vought suspended manufacturing the V24, Sister Sage, Susan Hayward, should be intelligent, enough to figure out how to make more, or at least how to find some in storage somewhere. Huey used Temp V 4 times, so he definitely shouldn't take any more. But what would stop the team from offering Temp V to people sympathetic to their cause just one time when going into the final battle with Homelander? Butcher and Ryan, Cameron Crevetti, do manage to apprehend Homelander. However, Butcher didn't even know Ryan would be there, so that was just pure luck. Even having 10 extra soups on hand for 24 hours would have been a huge asset in the final fight. And everyone forgets Temp V is a thing. And there's still the question as to what would happen if a soup took Temp V. It could make them even more powerful, which would also be a plus. Why would Starlight fight Deep near water? The Deep, Chase Crawford, receives perhaps the most fitting death in The Boys series finale. In the previous episode, Deep gets blamed for an oil disaster, causing all of the sea animals to turn on him. A shark, voiced by Samuel L. Jackson, informs Deep that if he ever goes into the ocean again, they'll all kill him. That's precisely what happens in the finale as Annie knocks Deep into the sea, and a horde of sea creatures descend upon him. But there's one problem with this whole sequence. The boys meet Deep at the White House, and Annie takes her fight with him elsewhere while the others descend upon Homelander. Annie and Deep land on the beach, which seems like an odd battleground because Annie doesn't know Deep has angered all the sea life. Why would she want to fight him on his home turf where he could call upon any number of creatures to fight on his behalf? None of the creatures will help Deep. But Annie doesn't know that. She seemingly doesn't realize that, under better circumstances, she's given Deep a huge advantage. That's probably why she looks so confused when the sea creatures kill Deep. She didn't even realize what she was doing when knocking him far out into the ocean. Where do all of Homelander's loyal followers go? One of the biggest unanswered questions in The Boys Season 5 finale is what happens to the millions of people who supported Homelander. While his death brings an end to the immediate threat, it doesn't magically erase the divisions that have been growing throughout both The Boys and Gen V. The conflict between Supes and ordinary people became deeply rooted, and there's little reason to believe those tensions would disappear overnight. The finale itself even hints at this problem. Butcher argues that killing Homelander isn't enough because another powerful figure could eventually rise and take his place. That concern feels valid, especially since Homelander spent years building a devoted following that often ignored evidence of his crimes. If people were willing to dismiss scandals like the Flight 37 incident as fake, it's not hard to imagine some supporters refusing to accept the truth about his downfall as well. Another issue is that the season focuses almost entirely on the central characters, leaving little time to explore how the rest of the country reacts. We never really see the political, social, or cultural fallout of Homelander's death. As a result, the ending can feel a little too neat for a world that had become so deeply divided. Even Starlight's peaceful future raises questions. Given how many extremists openly targeted her throughout the series, it's surprising that she can seemingly return to a normal public life without much concern. The finale chooses optimism over exploring those complications, which works emotionally, but leaves several important questions unanswered. Well, that's our breakdown of the 5 worst plot holes in The Boys Season 5. Even though the final season gave us some unforgettable moments, intense battles, and major character endings, there are still a few story decisions that don't quite hold up when you take a closer look. Whether it's Homelander's inconsistent powers, Soldier Boy's sudden motivations, or some of the unanswered questions left behind, these plot holes have definitely sparked plenty of debate among fans. But that's just my take. Now, I want to hear yours. Which plot hole on this list bothered you the most? Do you agree with these picks, or is there an even bigger one that should have made the list? Let me know in the comments below. I read as many comments as I can, and I always love seeing different opinions and theories from fellow fans. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to Plot Unlocked, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. We have plenty more reviews, breakdowns, hidden details, Easter eggs, and fan theories coming soon. And trust me, you won't want to miss them. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. Every view, like, comment, and subscription helps Plot Unlocked grow, and I truly appreciate it. Until next time, keep looking beyond the surface. Keep questioning every twist, and keep unlocking the stories behind your favorite movies and shows. Bye.